Hello DNNers, welcome back to this mini-series about building DNN locally on your dev machine. My name is Peter, your stay-at-home DNNer, and in this episode we're going to actually try to build a dev site locally based on the repository that we've cloned on our hard disk. So there are a few prerequisites for this to work. And most importantly, you will need to have a local IIS running. If you have Windows 10 Pro, you can just click and it will be there. You will need SQL Server locally. I use SQL Express, as a lot of developers do. And also you will need to have created a website in IIS that already points to a particular location on your hard drive. So basically you will need to have actually set up DNN once on your machine. So you have a local site. In my case, it's www.netnuke.local, and we create a database as well. We create a database in IIS, and in my case, that's called www_local_. What am I saying? .netnuke_local. All right. Okay. That's all that is needed. And what we're going to do now is to make sure that the whole build system knows about all of these parameters, where things are, so that it can do its magic and create the website. And we start by creating the settings file that we need to let DNN know where it's going to build its content to. And to do that, we're going to use Cake. So if we go to I've pointed to this in a previous presentation, but there is a settings Cake file which actually creates a local settings object, which is read from disk if it exists. Settings local.json. If it doesn't exist, it's actually going to write it out. So now if I run Cake, and it doesn't really matter what target I specify, if a target doesn't exist, for instance, it will just fire up Cake and then error out. I'm going to go with build.ps1 target foo, and we should see our file appear. That saves us a bit of work. Obviously this is going to error out because there's no target called foo. But now, I'm going back here, we can see the settings local JSON file here. And so now we can specify where we actually have our website. Right, so I'm going to fill in, this is on websites / and the directory is called www.netnuke.local, and the files for the website are under www. Website URL we don't need to fill in right now, that's unused. The DNN connection string, that is important because we will want to point it. This is the connection string actually that goes into the web.config after everything's been set up. And the SA connection string is the system administrator connection string for SQL Server, is used to drop and create a database, which is a higher trust level than what DNN usually gets. So I'm going to go with a user that I've created in my database, and the database is, as we saw, .netnuke_local, and the UID for this user is test, and the password is identical. To keep things simple, just double check that looks good. DBO is good. Database name is this. The username is still test, and the database path is almost identical to this, and that's SQL. Right. Now for the version. So as we've also seen in a previous episode, we can specify the version with which DNN is going to build. And currently I'm interested to use the current code base. We are in the release process for 9.6.1 to emulate that. And so I'm going to say, well, we are going to build as if this was DNN 9.6.1. This, in fact, what it will do is in Cake, it will fire off that script that changes the solution info.cs and make sure it says 9.6.1, and it will make sure that all the manifests in DNN are labeled 9.6.1, so that when we install the module or we instantiate the site and the modules are installed, everything is labeled 9.6.1. And then the package.json files, that's not that important, but they're also versioned in the same bit. Then when we looked at the MS Build stuff in a previous episode, we saw that this file, the main DNN Platform build file, actually allows you to override where the website goes if you create this file. So we're going to do that. I'm going to create a new file here. And we are going to copy. I'm just going to copy that in there. That is basically the same code that we saw before in the build, in the main build file, except that now what we do is we take this variable and we override it. And we overwrite it in case we are in debug mode. In case of debug mode, we are going to write to this path, which is the same path as we had here. Okay, now we're strapped in, ready to go. And at this point in time, we are going to run a Cake script to create the dev site or to reset the dev site. And what it does, it sets the versions, it updates the DNN manifests, it drops and recreates the database, it prepares the various packaging bits. In other words, it compiles all the various modules, all the extensions, etc., and copies those in as well. Other packages, external extensions, and then it copies that over to the dev site that we specified and changes the config. Now, what's important to note at this point is that this process will create a new folder here, website. This is not the folder that will be used to actually run DNN from. That's a bad idea because these are temporary build artifacts. But that website folder is used by the entire build process to just pump files to and to use, for instance, to create a install zip package or an upgrade install zip package. But it's also used to prepare the site for copying then into the dev site. So I'm going to clear this out, and now the target is going to be reset dev site. All right, there we are. We've updated the version. We are resetting the database. And we're beginning to copy static files into the website folder. As you can see, now that website folder has been created. And then the next phase will be to actually start compiling. Right, all the NuGet packages have been restored and we are now building. All right, now it's running the Webpack and creating the various React scripts. All right, so it's done compiling. It's done compiling the main project. it's now pulling in, it's now going to start pulling in and compiling external packages. There we go, the CK editor provider in this case. That's downloaded from GitHub and compiled. And now we're actually copying all the files that are created on their website. We are completely done now with copying and compiling stuff to the dev site. And it is going to copy over 2,701 files that it's found that should go there. These are also the 2,701 files that would have gone into the install zip. And there we go. We've done this. So the whole process took 6 minutes. And if you run, it's important to keep this in mind. If you are running this for the first time, that will take significantly longer if you still need to pull in all the npm packages, all the NuGet packages, and Cake needs to bootstrap itself into the tools folder as well. So your mileage may vary, but usually on a second, third, etc. compile, it is a lot faster. So now let's go to this website. We are and this should bring up the install wizard if I'm correct. There we are. I'm going to specify a password. And I'm going to have to change that. And we are going to use our own entry into SQL Server, and we're going to continue the installation. And there we are. The install wizard has finished, and we should now be able to go to the website. There we are. As you can see, that's a regular DNN website, and that is exactly as it was compiled from the source code we had in our repo on our disk. So that concludes this session. In a later session, we'll look at how changing code actually works and how that fits into gets into the dev site, so you can change code and debug code in DNN. For now, thank you for watching.